Q&A time. Welcome back to another Q&A Monday. I tagged some people on Twitter asking for questions, and one of those people happened to be Sean R. Frazier, because I swear I'm going to get a question out of him eventually. Number 0. Sean R. Frazier asks, "Oh, you think so, do you? Wait, crap!" Alright, let's get to the actual Q&A. Number 1. SGPlays asks, "Legit question. A songwriter and an author switch jobs. Who would be better and why?" I've actually been thinking this one over quite a bit, and here's what I came up with. You see, a songwriter writes really short stuff, and it doesn't always have a plot or a narrative to it. Sometimes it's just like really simple stuff, just words and wordplay, and my camera's really dirty. And then the novelist, they write a lot of long stuff, a lot of words, but they don't always write pretty words. They focus on narrative, they focus on character development and all that stuff, but they don't focus on just how it sounds, typically. So what would happen if you switched the two, and who would do better at picking up the other one's job faster? I personally believe that the novelist would pick up the job of the songwriter faster, because even if a novelist doesn't know how to do poetry, poetry is short. And you can do a lot of iterations of it really freaking fast. And so you can learn faster by practicing faster in the same amount of time. Now, if the songwriter were to pick up writing novels, it takes forever to write a novel. Even if you're going to start with short stories or novelettes or something, it takes a long time to put those together, and you don't get the turnover rate. Is that the right word? You don't get the practice rate that the novelist would picking up poetry. And poetry is basically what songwriting is. So yeah, in conclusion, I think the novelist would kick the songwriter's butt. It's a good question. Number 2. Hokius asks, "No topic this time? Is this what freedom tastes like? I can ask anything I want? I need to make it good, I know. What is the best question to ask on a Q&A video?" Hokius, I know you're supporting me on Patreon and everything, but I don't feel like it's my place to make your question for you. Unless that was your question, but it's asking for a question for you to ask, but it was your question, but it's asking for a question for you to... Have you stuck me in a paradox? Is this one of those "this sentence is false" scenarios? Hokius, you need to stop breaking my brain. It really hurts. It's just right in this area. Number 3. A.M. Hounchell asks, "Sir Arthur Conan Doyle had an idea that everyone should engage both their physical and mental states, which is why he had Sherlock Holmes fence. Do you think authors should engage their physical states? How? Do you do something?" Well, AM, I think that it's a good idea to get exercise at the very least, but also inspiration. So if you can do both at the same time, I think that's a great thing. Exercising does improve brain function. It improves, I guess, the speed at which you think and stuff. I don't know, improved oxygen quality and quantity to the brain, and thus thinking more and better. You can tell I don't exercise much, but yeah, it's good to exercise because of all the physical and mental health benefits of that exercisingness. But also inspiration, because if you're doing something like fencing, you've got inspiration for fencing in your novels now. You could put fencing in your novels, sword fighting all the time. That'd be great. What I do is I bike ride. I ride a bike. And I haven't put... No, I did! I put a bike in a book. At least one book. So there's that. I think it's helping. Number 4. Sean Eric asks, "What one piece of advice would you give the you who was starting writing that you wished you had gotten at that time?" I would say, don't publish the first book right away. Write the second book first, see how that goes, and maybe even the third. and then go back to the first book and probably the second book and just kind of think about what you did. The first book wasn't bad, but it was rough. And not in plot or character development or anything like that. Well, maybe a little bit. But mostly in wording and style choice and a lot of other things. And it was really hard to, because I went back and I fixed it, and it's really good now. But it was kind of hard to do that and to figure out all the logistics to that, especially since I'm self-published. Had I been traditionally published, I don't think it would have been as big of a deal because it just never would have went through in the first place, and I would have written my second and third books long before the first book was published, so the advice would have automatically been taken without any advice having to be given. But yeah, just do multiple books before you publish one. I think that's really helpful because it's going to make that first book a lot better, and the first book is always going to be crap. Number 5. Boyd A. Davis asks, so how many drafts do you go through to get to the final? This is really interesting. I'm a outliner who likes to plot everything out way in advance, and I use this system. I'll probably make another video just for this, that I like to call a just add water system, or just add words, or I don't know. Basically, I start with the premise of the book, and then I start coming up with chapter summaries, and then I make little writing prompts for each scene in a chapter that kind of tells me what's going to happen way before it does. And then I write it out. I fill in all of that stuff, and it allows me to create a book that where I know exactly what's going to happen and when, and there's not really anything to fix up in that regard once that draft is finished. So I write one draft, and then I proof it I edit 3 times, and that's line editing, not really content editing. And then I proof 3 times. But I don't write multiple drafts because of content. It's just one go through. And if the outline's not good enough, I fix the outline before I write all those words, because that's a lot of words, a lot of time that I'd rather not have to do twice. And that's it for the Q&A video today. Hit the subscribe button if you haven't already, and like the video if you enjoyed it. Do things and the stuff. Ask me down in the comments some more questions for next week. Whatever you want to ask. I'll pick the top 5 that I want to answer, and I will answer them in the next Q&A Monday video. And I'll see you then.